The envelope sat on my desk like a coiled snake, no return address, just my name typed in clean black letters. Something about its plainness, its calculated simplicity, made my stomach clench. I'm Remy, and this moment, this ordinary Tuesday afternoon in my corner office, was about to shatter everything I thought I knew about my life. Inside was a single photograph and a handwritten note. The image showed my husband Ryan pressed against the window of Chloe's coffee shop, his hands tangled in the hair of a woman who definitely wasn't me. The note was brief: thought you should know. They meet every Thursday at 2 p.m. My coffee mug slipped from my fingers, dark liquid spreading across the quarterly marketing reports. I didn't move to clean it up. Remy. The Thompson account meeting starts in 5. My assistant Sarah's voice floated through the intercom. Cancel it. My voice sounded foreign, like it belonged to someone else. Cancel everything for the rest of the day. Are you feeling all right? You sound. I'm fine. I wasn't fine. I was calculating. 13 years of marriage, 1 daughter, shared bank accounts, family dinners, vacation photos. Christmas cards, all of it suddenly felt like elaborate props in some sick theater production. I pulled up our joint account on my phone. The transactions started jumping out at me, recurring payments to Chloe's coffee shop, far more than casual coffee runs would justify. Large withdrawals with no explanations. A pattern emerged, clear as day to my marketing-trained eye that lived for data analysis. My phone buzzed. Ryan's face appeared on the screen, his weekly check-in call. We'd started doing this after his ironworking business took off, pretending we were still the same couple who used to share everything. Hey, honey, his voice was casual, practiced. Just checking if you're still good to pick up Emily from soccer practice. I stared at the photograph while he spoke. Studying how his hands, the same hands that held our daughter when she was born, gripped another woman with such familiar intensity. Of course, I replied, my tone perfectly normal. Wouldn't miss it. Great. Love you. Love you too. The words tasted like ash. I opened my laptop and started a new document. Marketing campaigns had taught me the value of research, of understanding your target before making your move. I typed Ryan Carter and Chloe Bennett at the top, then began listing everything I knew about their connection. The cafe opened 8 months ago. Ryan had insisted on being its first investor, claiming it was supporting local business. He'd even convinced me to handle their marketing strategy pro bono, saying it would be good for community relations. My phone buzzed again, a text from Emily: Mom, can we get pizza tonight? Dad said it's okay if you agree. Emily. My brilliant, perceptive 13-year-old who somehow always knew when something was wrong. Who watched us with those quiet, knowing eyes at breakfast. Who'd stopped asking why Dad was always working late at the cafe. I looked at the photograph again, then at Emily's text. The rage building inside me wasn't the blind, destructive kind. It was cold, focused, and absolute. Ryan hadn't just betrayed me, he'd betrayed our daughter, turned our family into a lie. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I considered my next move. In marketing, timing is everything. Launch too soon, and your campaign fails. Wait too long, and you lose your advantage. I needed to be strategic, methodical, perfect. I saved the document, tucked the photograph into my purse, and stood up. The coffee stain had dried into a dark map of betrayal across my desk. Looking at it, I made my decision: Ryan wouldn't know what hit him until it was too late. Sarah, I called through the intercom, clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. Tell everyone I'm working on a special project. And I was. Just not the kind anyone would expect. The kitchen counter between Ryan and me might as well have been the Grand Canyon. He stood there in his usual morning spot, sipping coffee from the mug I'd given him last Christmas, while I mechanically packed Emily's lunch. The photograph in my desk drawer at work felt like it was burning through the miles between here and there. The Peterson contract came through, Ryan said, his voice carrying that familiar note of pride. Biggest ironwork job we've landed yet. I spread peanut butter across wheat bread, wondering how many of those contract celebrations had ended at Chloe's cafe. That's wonderful, I said, matching his tone perfectly. We should celebrate. Actually, I have a late meeting tonight. Rain check. Of course he did. I sliced the sandwich diagonally, the way Emily liked it, and felt Emily's presence before I heard her. She stood in the doorway, already dressed for school, watching us with those penetrating eyes that seemed to absorb everything. Morning, sweetheart, Ryan said, moving to kiss her forehead. She accepted it but didn't lean in like she used to. Is grandmother Linda coming for dinner tonight? Emily asked, settling at the counter. Ryan glanced at me, a flicker of something crossing his face. No, honey. Why? She called last night when you were at the cafe. Said something about family traditions slipping away. The knife in my hand stilled. Ryan's mother, Linda, had always been particular about family appearances. Weekly family dinners were her domain, her way of maintaining control over the Carter name. I'll call her, Ryan said quickly. Must have slipped my mind. Emily picked at her breakfast, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. She also asked if Mom was still doing the marketing for Chloe's cafe. The air in the kitchen shifted. I could feel Ryan's eyes on me, searching for any sign that I knew. But 15 years in marketing had taught me how to maintain a perfect poker face. Speaking of marketing, I said, zipping Emily's lunch bag, I'm meeting a new client today. Might be home late myself. It wasn't entirely a lie. I had scheduled a meeting, with my bank manager, to discuss separating our accounts without raising red flags. Both of you. Emily's voice carried a weight beyond her 13 years. Again. Ryan set down his coffee mug too hard, liquid sloshing over the rim. Emily, we're working to provide for this family. Sometimes that means. Means what, Dad? The edge in her voice made us both look at her. Means pretending everything's fine when it's not. Emily, I started, but she was already grabbing her backpack. I'll walk to school today. Need the exercise. The front door closed behind her with deliberate softness, somehow worse than a slam. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. She's been different lately. Maybe we should talk to someone. Maybe we should. I met his eyes, wondering if he saw the steel behind mine. About a lot of things. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I caught the slight tightening around his eyes. I should get to the site. Big day. After he left, I opened my laptop at the kitchen counter. The document I'd started yesterday had grown. Bank statements, cafe investments, meeting patterns, all meticulously catalogued. But it was the new email in my inbox that made my hands shake. From Anonymous. Subject, more than coffee. Attached were 3 photos, Ryan and Chloe at a jewelry store. Ryan handling paperwork at what looked like a real estate office. And most damning, Ryan embracing Chloe outside what I recognized as a fertility clinic. My carefully constructed plan of gathering evidence suddenly felt too slow, too cautious. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was about a whole secret life being built parallel to ours. Funded by our joint accounts and hidden behind late meetings and business investments. I closed the laptop and reached for my phone. Sarah. Move up that bank appointment to this morning. And find me everything you can about property purchases made by Chloe Bennett in the last 6 months. The game had changed. And so had the rules. The bank statement spread across my home office told a story that made my blood run cold. Every Thursday for the past 8 months, exactly 3 hours after his meetings at Chloe's cafe, Ryan had withdrawn $5,000. Cash. Untraceable. My phone lit up with Linda's name. My mother-in-law's timing had always been impeccable. Remy, dear, her voice dripped honey-coated judgment. I stopped by the cafe today. That lovely owner, Chloe, mentioned you haven't been handling their marketing lately. My fingers tightened around the phone. Of course Linda had been there. She'd probably ordered her usual Earl Grey while my husband's mistress served her with a smile. Business has been busy, I said. Had to prioritize paying clients. Funny, that's not what Ryan told me about the arrangement. I bet it wasn't. The bank statements trembled in my hand. Linda, I need to go. Emily's homework. Speaking of Emily, she seems troubled lately. Perhaps if you spent more time at home instead of at the office. A notification popped up on my laptop, another email from my anonymous source. I'll have to call you back. The email contained a single PDF, a lease agreement for a waterfront property. Signed by Ryan Carter and Chloe Bennett. Joint tenants. Dated 3 days ago. My chest constricted. The down payment, $60,000, matched exactly what had vanished from our retirement account last week. Ryan had claimed it was for new equipment for the ironworks. The front door opened downstairs. Emily's footsteps, then Ryan's heavier ones. Their voices drifted up. Dad, why was your car at the marina yesterday? You said you were at a job site. Silence. Then Ryan's careful response, just checking out a potential project, sweetheart. With Chloe. I moved to the stairs, staying just out of sight. My daughter's voice carried a challenge I'd never heard before. Emily, Ryan's tone shifted to stern. We've talked about this. Chloe's a business associate. Is that why you bought her that necklace? The one in the blue box you hid in your truck. More silence. I could picture Ryan's face, that slight twitch in his jaw when he's caught off guard. You've been going through my things. Now anger crept into his voice. No. Emily's response was flat. I saw you give it to her. At the cafe. When you thought nobody was watching. My heart stopped. Emily knew. Had known. The weight of her silence these past weeks crashed over me. Go to your room, Ryan ordered. We'll discuss this later. Like you discuss everything. By pretending it's not happening. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. I stepped back into my office just as Emily passed. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second, hers filled with a mixture of pain and determination that mirrored my own. Ryan's voice called up, Emily. We're not finished. Actually, I said, emerging from the office with the bank statements in hand, we are. Ryan froze at the bottom of the stairs. Remy, whatever she told you. $60,000, Ryan. I held up the statements. Our retirement fund. For a waterfront love nest with Chloe. The color drained from his face. How did you? Does it matter? While you were playing house with your cafe owner, did you even think about Emily's college fund? The mortgage? Our future? It's not what you think. The fertility clinic visits suggest otherwise. That landed like a physical blow. Ryan gripped the banister. Who told you? You did. Every withdrawal, every lie, every late meeting, told me exactly who you are. I descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. The irony is, you taught Emily the same lesson. Congratulations. Remy, please. I've already called our lawyer. He's expecting us tomorrow at 9. I reached the bottom step, looking down at the man I'd thought I knew. Don't worry about the marina property. You and Chloe can keep it. Consider it the price of your freedom. I turned away, heading toward Emily's room, but paused. Oh, and Ryan. Your mother sends her regards. She just loves the cafe's Earl Grey. The sound of his sharp intake of breath followed me up the stairs. Some wounds, I was learning, were best delivered with precision rather than force. The lawyer's office felt too warm, despite the October chill outside. Ryan sat across the mahogany conference table, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. The stack of financial records between us might as well have been a mountain of evidence. Before we proceed, Ryan's lawyer cleared his throat. My client would like to speak privately with Mrs. Carter. Miss Carter, I corrected, ignoring the flash of hurt across Ryan's face. And anything he needs to say can be said here. Ryan leaned forward, his wedding ring already absent. Remy, please. 5 minutes. My lawyer touched my arm. It's your choice. I stood, my heels clicking against hardwood as I followed Ryan to a small meeting room. He closed the door, and suddenly we were alone, really alone, for the first time since I'd discovered everything. I can explain about the marina property, he started. Can you explain, Emily? My voice was steady, controlled. Can you explain what watching her father build a secret life has done to her? He flinched. I never meant to get caught. To have our daughter see you with another woman. To drain our accounts. To feel alive again. The words exploded from him. Do you know what it's like, being trapped in this perfect life you've created? The successful wife, the gifted daughter, the expectations. Trapped? Ice filled my veins. You think you were trapped? Linda and Henry had it all planned out. Take over the family business, marry the right woman, maintain the Carter name. I never had a choice. You had every choice. Every single day, you chose to lie. He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt. Chloe's pregnant. The world tilted. I gripped the back of a chair, my knuckles white. 3 months, he continued, softer now. I was going to tell you. When? After the fertility clinic visits. After buying property together. After destroying our daughter's trust. I'll give you whatever you want. The house, full custody, anything. Just. Don't tell my parents about the baby. Not yet. A laugh escaped me, hollow and sharp. You still don't get it. This isn't about your parents, Ryan. It's about Emily. It's about watching her try to protect me while carrying your secret. It's about her having to grow up too fast because her father couldn't grow up at all. My phone buzzed, a text from Emily, Grandmother Linda's here. She's asking questions. Perfect timing, as always. I showed Ryan the message, watching the color drain from his face. You wouldn't, he whispered. I didn't have to. Your perfect escape plan did that for you. I moved toward the door. You know what the difference is between us, Ryan? I never needed to feel alive again. I was too busy actually living. Back in the conference room, I addressed both lawyers. I want full custody. Ryan can have supervised visits, pending Emily's agreement. I'll waive all claims to the ironworks business and the marina property. In exchange, I want sole control of our remaining assets and Emily's college fund. Ryan's lawyer started to object, but Ryan cut him off. Done. As we signed the preliminary papers, another text came through, this time from Linda, having coffee with Chloe. Lovely girl. Such interesting news she shared. I slid my phone across to Ryan, watching his face crumple. Some revenge is best served by simply stepping aside and letting consequences unfold naturally. I'll have Emily's things packed by tomorrow, I said, standing. You can tell your parents whatever story you want about why we're divorcing. But remember, Chloe might have her own version to share over Earl Grey. Walking out of that office, I felt lighter than I had in months. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped playing a game I never wanted to be part of in the first place. Emily was waiting in the lobby, her face a mirror of my own determination. Is it done? Almost, I said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. But we're just getting started. My father's study always smelled of leather and old books. Now, watching him read through the divorce papers, I remembered hiding here as a child, believing this room could fix anything. Emily sat curled in his leather armchair, looking smaller than her 13 years. He's asking for joint custody, Thomas said, his voice carefully neutral. Despite the agreement at the lawyer's office. Of course he is. I stood at the window, watching the autumn leaves scatter across the lawn of my childhood home. Linda's influence, no doubt. Mom? Emily's voice cracked slightly. Grandmother Linda called again. She wants me to spend the weekend at their house. Says we need to discuss family loyalty. The crystal tumbler in my hand nearly slipped. When? This morning. Before. Emily hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Before Dad sent this. The text message glowed on her screen. Princess, I know things are confusing right now. But there's someone special I'd like you to meet. Someone who's going to be part of our family. My father's chair creaked as he stood. He wouldn't dare. He already has. I set the tumbler down before I could throw it. Chloe's pregnancy isn't just his escape plan anymore. It's his leverage. The doorbell rang, echoing through the house. My mother's voice floated up, followed by another that made my blood freeze. Linda. Emily whispered, shrinking further into the chair. Footsteps on the stairs. I moved to stand between Emily and the door just as Linda Carter swept in, perfectly coiffed and radiating righteous indignation. Really, Remy? Hiding at your parents' house like a teenager. Her eyes found Emily. And dragging my granddaughter into this spectacle. Linda, my father warned, but she continued. I've just had the most illuminating conversation with Ryan. About choices and consequences. She smiled, razor sharp. Did you know he's been offered a position in Chicago? Fresh start, better opportunities. For everyone involved. Emily made a small sound behind me. I felt her hand grip the back of my blazer. Including my granddaughter, of course. Linda's smile widened. The schools there are excellent. And with the baby coming, it would be good for Emily to be part of a proper family unit. Get out. My voice was ice. You can't keep her from her father, Remy. Or her new sibling. The courts look favorably on fathers who show initiative in maintaining family bonds. The courts also look carefully at financial records, my father interjected. And property purchases made with marital assets. Linda's smile flickered. Ancient history. Ryan's already transferred the marina property solely to Chloe. Clean break, fresh start. My laugh surprised even me. You really don't know your son at all, do you? I pulled out my phone, showing her the email I'd received that morning from my anonymous source, documentation of a second property. Purchased 6 months ago under a shell company. More diverted funds, more lies. Ryan's not planning a fresh start in Chicago, I said softly. That property? It's in Montreal. And the deed is in Chloe's name only. The color drained from Linda's face. You're lying. Ask him. Better yet, ask Chloe. I hear she's quite chatty over coffee these days. Linda turned sharply, her heels clicking across hardwood as she fled. The front door slammed moments later. Emily emerged from the chair, her face set in a way that reminded me painfully of myself. You knew about Montreal? I suspected. The anonymous emails were from me. Her voice was steady, even as tears threatened. I followed him one day, after I saw them at the cafe. I created the email account, sent the photos, everything. I thought if you knew, you could fix it. The room went silent. My father moved to the window, giving us space as I pulled Emily into my arms. I'm sorry, she whispered against my shoulder. I should have told you sooner. No, I held her tighter, my own tears finally breaking free. I'm sorry you had to be so strong for so long. Over her head, I met my father's eyes. His slight nod told me everything. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about protecting what really mattered, and sometimes the best revenge is simply telling the truth. Pack a bag, I told Emily. We're not hiding anymore. Chloe's cafe looked different in the rain. Smaller, somehow. I sat in my car across the street, watching Ryan and Chloe through the window. They were arguing, his hands gesturing wildly, her arms crossed protectively over her growing belly. The custody papers on my passenger seat felt like a ticking bomb. My phone buzzed. Emily's text read, "Grandfather Henry is here. He's talking about boarding schools in Chicago." Before I could respond, a knock on my window made me jump. Linda Carter stood there, umbrella in hand. Wearing the same determined expression she'd had at every family function where something wasn't up to her standards. I rolled down the window. "Twice in 1 week, Linda. People will talk. They're already talking." She glanced at the cafe. "But not about what you think. I'm not interested in. Chloe's selling the cafe." Linda's words cut through the rain. "And the marina property. Ryan's name isn't on either sale." Something cold settled in my stomach. I looked back at the cafe window, but Ryan and Chloe had disappeared. "Get in," I said. Linda settled into the passenger seat, moving the custody papers to her lap. "Henry's pushing for the Chicago move. Says it's the only way to salvage the family name." "And the baby?" "There is no baby." Linda's voice cracked. "There never was. Just like there's no job in Chicago. Just like there's no." She stopped, hands trembling. My phone buzzed again. "Emily, Dad's here now too. They're talking about immediate removal from an unstable environment." "Mom, I'm scared." The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. The Montreal property. The sudden custody fight. The convenient pregnancy story. "He's running," I whispered. "The Montreal property isn't for Chloe. It's his escape plan. And Emily's his ticket out." Linda's perfectly composed facade crumbled. "Henry and I. We thought pushing for Chicago would keep him here, keep the family together. We didn't know." Movement at the cafe door caught my attention. Ryan emerged, heading straight for his truck. Chloe didn't follow. "The custody hearing is tomorrow," Linda said. "Henry's already convinced Judge Matthews to consider emergency temporary custody, given your unstable living situation." My unstable, I stopped, the full weight of Ryan's plan hitting me. He's going to take her. Today. Before the hearing. My phone rang, my father's number. "Emily's gone," he said without preamble. "Ryan and Henry took her. Said they had court approval for emergency custody." The world tilted. Through the rain-streaked windshield, I watched Ryan's truck pull away from the cafe. "They don't," Linda said, holding up the custody papers. "These haven't been filed yet. I was supposed to file them this afternoon." I started the car. Call the police. They won't help. Not without proof of immediate danger. And Ryan's name is still on all her legal documents. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Everything I'd done, the careful planning, the evidence gathering, the legal maneuvers, none of it mattered if Ryan got Emily across the border. Where would they go first? I asked Linda. Henry's lake house. It's where we always. She stopped, realization dawning. Where we always went before leaving for Montreal. I pulled away from the curb, rain hammering against the windshield. My phone buzzed one final time, an email from Emily's anonymous account, sent just minutes ago, gas station on Route 16. Grandfather's car. Help. Call your husband, I told Linda. Tell him whatever story you need to, but keep them at the lake house. And then you're going to help me destroy everything they've built. My voice was steady, even as my world crumbled. Starting with the family name they're so desperate to protect. The rain grew heavier as we drove, but I barely noticed. Sometimes, I was learning, revenge isn't about winning. Sometimes it's about being willing to burn everything down, including yourself, to protect what matters most. The lake house loomed through sheets of rain, its windows glowing like warning beacons. Linda's hand trembled as she pointed to Ryan's truck parked beside Henry's Mercedes. They're still here. I killed the engine, checking my phone one last time. The email I'd drafted sat ready to send, every financial record, every secret property deal. Every lie meticulously documented and addressed to the IRS, FBI, and 3 major news outlets. Last chance, Linda. Are you sure? She squared her shoulders, suddenly looking less like Ryan's controlling mother and more like a woman who'd had enough. Do it. I hit send just as the lake house door opened. Henry stepped onto the porch, his face thunderous. Linda. What are you doing with her? Where's my daughter? My voice carried across the rain-soaked yard. Safe from your instability. Henry's words dripped contempt. Ryan's taking her somewhere she can have a proper family. There is no proper family, Linda cut in, striding forward. Tell him, Henry. Tell him about the Montreal accounts. The ones you've been helping him hide. The porch light caught Henry's flinch. Behind him, Ryan appeared, his hand gripping Emily's shoulder. My daughter's face was tear-stained but determined. It's over, Ryan, I called out. The authorities have everything. The properties, the hidden accounts, the fake pregnancy story, all of it. You're bluffing. But his grip on Emily loosened slightly. Check your phone. Linda's voice was steel. The family name you were so desperate to protect. It's already trending. Ryan's phone buzzed. Then Henry's. Then Linda's. The sound of notifications filling the rain-heavy air like angry hornets. Dad, Emily's voice cracked. Let me go. Princess, you don't understand. I did this for us. For your future. You did this for yourself. Emily twisted free, backing away. I saw you, at the cafe. I took the pictures. I sent them to Mom. The revelation hit Ryan like a physical blow. He staggered, reaching for the porch railing. You? I needed Mom to know. To understand why I couldn't. Emily's voice strengthened. Why I couldn't trust you anymore. Henry moved suddenly, grabbing Emily's arm. No one's going anywhere until. The crack of Linda's palm against Henry's face echoed like thunder. Take your hands off my granddaughter. Emily broke free, running through the rain toward me. I met her halfway, pulling her close as Ryan descended the porch steps. Remy, please. His voice had lost its edge of control. We can fix this. The authorities, the press, I can make it go away. I always do. Not this time. I held up my phone, showing him the latest notification. Chloe just went live on social media. Apparently, she's been keeping her own records. Ryan's face crumpled. Behind him, Henry was frantically dialing numbers that wouldn't answer. Linda stood between them and us, her designer outfit soaked but her stance unwavering. You know what the funny thing is? I said, feeling Emily's grip tighten around my waist. I didn't want revenge. I wanted you to face consequences. There's a difference. I'll lose everything, Ryan whispered. You already did. Emily's words cut through the rain. You just didn't notice. Headlights swept the driveway as police cars approached. Ryan's shoulders sagged, the fight draining from him as reality set in. Henry retreated into the house, still clutching his useless phone. Linda moved to stand beside us, completing a new kind of family circle. Mom? Emily looked up at me. Can we go home now? Yes, I said, watching as officers approached Ryan with handcuffs. But first, there's something you should know. About being strong enough to tell the truth, even when it hurts. She smiled slightly, wisdom beyond her years in her eyes. I learned that from you. The rain began to ease as we walked to the car, leaving behind the wreckage of lies and the men who told them. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in destroying someone else's world, it's in building your own, stronger than before. From the ashes they left behind. The headlines about Ryan's arrest had finally stopped dominating local news, replaced by stories about fall festivals and school board elections. Chloe's cafe had a new owner, a retired teacher who specialized in herbal teas. Life had a way of moving forward, even when you weren't ready. I stood in my office, packing the last box of personal items, when Emily appeared in the doorway. Mom? Linda's here. Linda Carter looked different now, softer somehow, without the weight of appearances crushing her shoulders. She carried a familiar leather portfolio. The divorce is final, she said, placing it on my desk. Henry signed over his share of the ironworks to me this morning. Before he... She paused. Before he left for the rehabilitation facility. Emily moved to the window, her reflection overlapping with the autumn trees outside. Did Dad call again? Yes. I watched her carefully. From the detention center. He wants to talk. I'm not ready. She turned, stronger than I'd ever been at 13. Maybe someday, but not now. Linda nodded, understanding filling the spaces where judgment used to live. I found something, cleaning out the lake house. I thought you should have it. She pulled out an envelope, weathered and unopened. Inside was a photograph, Ryan and me on our wedding day, but not the formal portrait. This was a candid shot, both of us laughing at something long forgotten. On the back, in Ryan's handwriting, the moment I should have been brave enough to say I wasn't ready. He was always running, Linda said softly. From expectations, from responsibility, from himself. Henry and I. We thought pressure would make him stronger. Instead, it just taught him to hide better. Emily took the photo, studying it. I used to think being brave meant keeping secrets to protect people. Like when I followed Dad, took those pictures, sent those emails. She looked up at me. But real bravery is telling the truth, isn't it? Even when it hurts. Sometimes, I said, it's also about knowing which truths need to be told, and which ones we can let go. Linda touched the divorce papers. The Ironworks board wants to appoint new leadership. They're considering offering you the position, Remy. Your marketing background, your handling of the crisis. They were impressed. The irony wasn't lost on me, being offered the very thing Ryan had run from. But power wasn't what I'd been fighting for. I'm starting my own firm, I said, gesturing to the boxes. Something smaller, more focused on helping businesses rebuild after setbacks. I've learned a few things about that lately. Emily smiled, a real one that reached her eyes. Can I help? Maybe intern or something. Planning your career already? Planning on being brave, she corrected. Like you. Linda gathered her things, pausing at the door. The family name meant everything to us once. Now. She shook her head. Now I think we were measuring the wrong things. After she left, Emily helped me with the last box. The office looked bare, but not empty, more like a clean slate than an ending. Mom? Emily's voice was thoughtful. Remember when you said revenge wasn't what you really wanted? Yes. What did you want? I considered the question, thinking of Ryan in his cell, Henry in rehab, the shattered pieces of their carefully constructed facade. I wanted the truth to matter more than appearances. I wanted you to see that being strong doesn't mean being perfect. And now? Now I want to build something new. Something real. I picked up the box. Ready? She nodded, but stopped at the door. The anonymous emails. I'll never do something like that again. But I'm not sorry I did it. I know. I touched her shoulder. Some secrets protect lies. Others protect the truth until it's ready to come out. We left the office together, stepping into the crisp autumn air. The truth was, revenge hadn't brought me peace, facing reality had. And sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's world at all. Sometimes it's about being brave enough to build your own.